Hello, Ossining. It's Mayor Victoria Gearity coming to you today. What time are we at here? It's just after 3 o'clock. I'm going to make an effort to show up here on your Facebook feed every afternoon, just to at least give an update. And hopefully we'll be able to expand that to a weekly Q&A. I'm thinking Thursdays will work out, but we've been doing this for a total of 15 seconds, so let's see how it goes. So you may have noticed, if you've been out and passed by the Village Hall, you'll see that our flag is at half-mast. We've just started that today, that all village flags will be lowered to half-mast. And that is obviously to honor the lives of the people, the thousands who have fallen victim to the coronavirus already, including some of our own neighbors. The current number of cases that have tested positive in the village of Ossining is 283. And if you tuned into last week's village board meeting, you would have heard some of the explanation from Lindsay Farrell about why our numbers seem so very high. And a big part of that reason is because we're testing more people than most communities are. The open door patients are responsible for the vast majority of our positive cases, and it's actually a good thing that we are doing a lot of testing. That means there are people in our community who are having symptoms, and they're able to get the tests, and the tests are actually coming back with a positivity rate that is comparable to the rest of the county. So it's not that folks in Ossining who are symptomatic and getting tested are more likely to have the coronavirus, to test positive. It's just that more people are getting tested. There is more access to testing in our community than many other communities, which is a good thing. And we are very fortunate to have the open door accessible right in our downtown in walking distance for people who do not drive. And they have set up so many measures to be able to address this crisis that we're facing. If you haven't gotten to tune into that meeting, Lindsay Farrell is the first up in the meeting, so I encourage you to just go a little bit further down in my mayor's Facebook page, or go to the Village of Ossining Facebook page, and you'll find the link there, or it's on our YouTube channel, the Village of Ossining YouTube channel. I really encourage you to follow the Village's page, and of course my own page where you're watching this now, but the Village page, we've really stepped up our game in doing posts regularly. Also, you should, if you don't regularly check the Village website as a resource, if you have questions about what's the latest news, or where can you find a link to something that you heard about, we have an online resource page that is maintained by Jamie Hoffman of the Village Manager's Office. She's doing a terrific job. In fact, she just reorganized it the other day to make it even easier for people to find the things that they need. So I really encourage you, just go to thevillageofossining.org, and right there front and center on the quick links right there on the left, you'll see something that says COVID-19. Click on there and you'll see lots of resources. I also want to make sure that you are getting the weekly emails. There's one from me, the Mayor's Monday Mayor's Message that I send out. In fact, I need to get working on that. It'll be arriving late today, as you have, if you're a regular receiver of that, you've seen that it's been coming late on Mondays. That's largely because I am also now the educator for 2 middle school students here in Ossining, and that commands a lot of my time. So this middle part of the day is when I'm working on my village work, and by the time I get that Monday Mayor's Message out, it is often 5 o'clock or so. But it'll get out, I promise. There'll be something that comes out every week, and it lets you know what happened in our last week's meeting and what to anticipate in next week's meeting, and then highlights some other key information and provides links to key information. You should also be subscribing to the Village Web Blast, which you should do anyway. Usually it's full of fun things, like great activities going on in our community that either are coming from the village or the town or the schools or the library, and often, very often, from organizations and businesses around town, and all the fun things that we can do. Obviously, the fun things we can do around town is much more limited, but it is now a terrific resource for lots of information, including links for anybody who needs to apply for for unemployment. If you haven't done that yet, or if you've been struggling to get through, there is some information in last week's web blast, which you get emailed to you every Thursday if you've signed up for it. If you have not signed up for it, I encourage you to please right away go to thevillageofossining.org and go to the subscriptions page and sign up for the web blast. And on that, you will also find information about how small business loans can be applied for. We have, there's a lot of resources coming out of the federal government, and I know some local businesses have applied for 2 different programs. One of them is a short-term program, and one of them is a longer-term small business loan. And if you are a small business owner, if you know someone who's a small business owner, I strongly encourage you to apply for those funds. Obviously, the economic devastation that we know we are all facing is going to be compounded if our local businesses, or we expect that some of them may not survive, and programs like this can be an incredible help and essential for the business owners and for our local economy to be able to get back up on its feet when we're back out and about in the world, which will happen. It will happen this summer. I'm optimistic of sitting on the beach and watching beautiful sunsets at the waterfront with you. I did also want to follow up on something that has been in the news. You may have heard that there's some discussion of a reduced late fee for town and county taxes. You probably received your town and county tax bill, or you should have. If you are a property owner in Ossining, you would have received that in the last week or so, and that bill is due April 30th. If you pay at any time by the end of the month, you will not pay a late fee. If you do not pay it until May 1st or later, there will be a fee. However, there might be good news. We're still waiting to see. The county had a lot of discussions with town supervisors, and the Board of Legislators has passed a proposal which is now going to be out for public comment. The proposal would significantly lower the penalties for the next couple of months for town and county taxes. So if you do not pay your county taxes by May 1st, currently the normal percentage of the late fee would be 2%. The proposed decrease would take it down to 0.5%. Now, obviously, if you can pay it by the end of April, if you are in a financial position, if you haven't been so deeply financially harmed by what's going on with the coronavirus right now, then you don't pay the late fee. But if you are delayed in paying it, the penalty will be a little easier to swallow, possibly. As I said, the Board of Legislators has passed a proposal that needs to have public hearings, and once the public hearing goes through, then the Board of Legislators will vote on a final bill, and that, my understanding is, will be coming around April 17th. So your bill is not due until April 30th. I'm certainly not going to pay mine before April 30th, but if you pay it late, if you're somebody who pays it directly as opposed to having it paid by your mortgage company, then wait until April 17th if you think that you're going to have to hold back on making your payment right now, because it's possible that the penalty will be just 0.5% rather than 2%, at least for the month of May. And then for the month of June and half of the month of July, rather than jumping to 5% at that point, the proposed amount is they would only jump to 1%. And then after July 16th and beyond, then it goes back up to the usual 5% for that time period through the end of July. And then starting August 1st, it would go up to 7%. So obviously, we all pay the bills as soon as we can, but so many people have been so financially devastated right now that it is absolutely very difficult to be able to make those payments. And so I thank the County Board of Legislators and the town supervisors for looking for a way to alleviate that pain at least a little bit. On that front, I'll just tell you what we're doing in the village with water bills. We discussed at our last meeting is we are actually not just lowering but waiving your penalties for your water bill that is due right now, or that this upcoming water bill, and until we've extended the deadline until June 5th. There won't be a late fee charge until after June 5th. That we could do by resolution. So we just did it last week. It was something that we thought was really important to do. There are so many financial hardships where we don't have the ability to alleviate your burden, but that's one area where we can. Although certainly, again, if you're someone who is in a position to pay your water bill, then please pay it, because every level of government is having difficulty. Well, or at least we're anticipating that our revenues are going to take a serious drop this year, and so having some money coming in is beneficial, and also most of us just like to pay our bills if and when we can, but it's good to know that the late fees are being waived in the village for your water bills. Okay, what else do I have on my list here? Things to update people on. Oh yeah, there was so much valuable information in the web blast. One of the things that they point out is that if you are someone who needs to get a prescription drug from the pharmacy, most pharmacies now are doing delivery. So go ahead and there's a link to that information, as I said, on the Village Web Blast, which you can find on the Village website. Right front and center, they have a list of all the recent web blasts, and there's a ton of resources there. There's also all the information about the food pantry, and I just want to acknowledge so many of the partners that we've been working with in the food pantry: Feeding Westchester, Galata House, Westcop, which for us is Ossinings's Cap, and the Ossining Food Pantry have been just really terrific partners in putting together our, I'm just scrolling up to check and make sure I don't want to misspeak, our mobile food pantries, which are happening Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesdays, in fact, so tomorrow it will be happening in 3 locations at 3 different times, from 9 to 11 a.m. at the community center, from 12 to 2 p.m. at Market Square, and from 4 to 7 p.m. at Star of Bethlehem Church. That's Tuesday, April 7th. On Friday, we're talking about the food pantry. That's, somebody just asked what we were talking about. We're talking about the mobile food pantry that is available to anyone. The only information that they ask is what are the numbers and ages of people in your home, not where do you live, not what are your names, just, and that's only because Feeding Westchester is a federal program, and so their funding has a minimal amount of information that needs to be provided. So if you have a family with 1 senior citizen, 2 adults, and 1 child, then that's what you say. You don't tell them who you are or where you live, just somebody asked me a question. I'll try and get to that. It's tricky to for me to give information and read. I'm still figuring this out. But I did want to let folks know we also have the mobile food pantry happening Fridays from 12 to 2 at Market Square, and there might be changes coming up with that as we see the needs for food changing. We are partnering with so many other organizations, both with the mobile food pantry opportunities and with the hot meals, and trying to balance those out. And as you probably know, the schools at Park School every day, Monday to Friday from 11 to 1 are grab and go breakfast and lunch, and they have alphabetically people at the beginning of the alphabet should show up at 11, and then it goes every half hour to 1 o'clock. So check out, again, that information is certainly available on the school website, and it's also one of the pieces of information that's included in the web blast that I was making sure you are signed up for. Oh, and there's also I wanted to tell you about, Sarah, I see your question. Thank you, Sarah. Issues you have with landlords in Ossining. You know, I'm going to just look it up right now because that's a really great question. It is an incredibly difficult time for tenants right now, people who are out of work, to still be able to get to pay their rent when you don't have an income. How in the world do you do that? I mean, the good news is you're not getting evicted right now, but then how do you work with a landlord to be able to find a way to manage your getting up to date if you are getting back to work in a couple of months, and what sort of fees and it really has to be established on a one-on-one basis at this point, is my understanding, but I am not the expert, and I would like to direct you to where you should go. And there's always more than one path, but go to villageofossining.org, and one of our committees that we have is the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. So I'm going to click right here, and let me make sure I'm going to the right place. Yes, so right on the home page, there's quick links. And it says forms, permits, and fees. Click on that and you'll see one of those listed is Landlord-Tenant Relations Council, which is a group of 9 community members, 3 landlords, 3 tenants, and 3 non-landlords or tenants. You're asking me a very specific question that I don't have the answer to, Sarah, but it is related. So what I'm going to suggest is if you go there, there's an intake form, which you can fill out online. It's in English. I wish it was in English and Spanish. That's one of the many things on our list to get to. But ask that question to the head of the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. The question that Sarah's asked is, can they legally charge processing fees when the courts are closed? I don't know. The courts are closed. There's a lot of things that they can't do. There's a lot of things that we can't do. There's certain tickets that can't be written now because the courts are closed. That doesn't mean that there's no enforcement, but it does mean that things are handled differently right now. So my suggestion, Sarah, would be to please fill out one of these intake forms so that someone from the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council can get back to you. I mentioned that it's 9 community members. There's actually a couple of openings right now, but they work with our legal counsel in the village, so they'll be able to get you they can't provide legal advice, but they can provide you information. If not, then who to speak to, but that seems like a pretty discreet question that you're having. So I hope that we're able to get an answer for you, Sarah, and maybe I will, once I have it, maybe I'll be able to share it on a future update. There are just a couple of more reminders I want to give folks. I've seen people much more and more wearing masks and being very mindful of keeping their distance. That is... You're welcome, and thank you, Sarah, for always being so helpful in communicating and keeping on top of things and sharing information. I went to Cedar Lane Park this weekend. It's so beautiful. There were a handful of us there, and everybody was very conscientious about maintaining at least 6 feet apart. Some of us are wearing masks or scarves, some of us were not, and in a park where there's a nice wide distance between everyone, that's not the same type of concern as it is when you're in a grocery store, for example. I feel like every day our behavior is changing and evolving, and for the most part, people are increasingly being conscientious about social distancing. Obviously, there's examples of when it's not happening, and there's a lot of social pressure, too, for people to start behaving in a way that protects us all. So let's hope that continues. One of the good things that is coming out of this, believe it or not, I mean, there is a list of silver linings, so we'll put this on the silver lining. The village has for a long time talked about expanding our online capabilities, and some of those were already underway. Building permits are soon going to be available online. What you can do right now is, if you are a contractor or an architect, somebody who works in building and construction in Ossining, I encourage you to go to the village website, and also that link is on the web blast, and take the online training so that you can be registered and ready to go to apply for your building permits as soon as they're online, which we're thinking is going to be in a matter of weeks, not months. So I'm excited about that. And already online now, you can do your marriage license application. That's brand new, and I think New York State had to allow for that. So thank you to our clerk's office for getting that underway. So marriages are considered essential. Marriages are still happening by appointment, and now the marriage license can be applied for online, which is terrific. Also online now are FOIL requests. So if you want to make a FOIL request, you can do that online now too. And there is also we do think that we'll be out and about and connecting with the world by the summer. So if you're somebody who sends their kids to Ossining Town Camp or after camp, that registration is underway online now. The after camp tends to fill up fairly quickly on most years. Who knows what's going to happen this year? It's everything is a little different than it ever has been before. And I wanted to say thanks so much to everybody who has joined in. I'm obviously Mayor Gearity, and I'm going to do my best to find a consistent time to give you an update on a daily basis on Facebook Live, and perhaps we'll do a lengthier Q&A later in the week. Right now, I think I have one more question here. What is the link for marriage licenses? Is it for the town? Sarah, I haven't looked at it, but yeah, I mean, marriage licenses are done as a town function. So I would say, yes, go to the townofossining.com for the marriage license information. Let's see, Greg Gale, if you asked me a question here, do you have a sense of what the police are finding in terms of compliance with social distancing at parks and fields? Is compliance generally good, or is there still work to do? Actually, I'll tell you, every Friday afternoon we have our Office of Emergency Management meeting via Zoom now. And that's usually when I get the kind of updates from all of the staff on all that they are seeing. And my understanding from Chief Sylvester is that they are seeing compliance. They are seeing much more people are not gathering in groups. We're not seeing the same type of group games and sporting gatherings that we were once seeing. There's a slight distinction in the rules of village town parks versus school parks as far as the fields are concerned. Playgrounds everywhere are shut down. Everyone encourages you to go out and take a walk, just maintain social distancing, take a run, ride your bike, just maintain social distancing. The fields in the village and town parks, the fields and courts are closed. In the school properties, they are closed for group and team activities. So one person shooting a soccer ball is not a problem. A whole team of people shooting a soccer ball is a problem. And the Ossining police will use their best judgment. And the understanding is that the police officer who sees any kids playing sports in large groups will go ahead and break up the group and do it in the way that seems like the right thing for them, and we support their efforts. The intention is to keep everyone safe and to break up any group sports. I'm hearing that there is a report that there have been large groups playing at AMD, unfortunately. So if you do see a group of people playing, it is in everyone's interest that doesn't happen. So feel free to call it into the Ossining Police non-emergency number, which is 914-941-4099. I think that's off the top of my head. If somebody needs to correct me, please do. I see Catherine Borgia joined us as well. Hi, Legislator Borgia. I was just letting folks know that you all passed a proposal to reduce the late penalties being charged for town and county taxes, and that's going to be undergoing a public hearing. So if there's information for the county to share as far as if people want to be part of that public hearing, or if there's any other information, maybe this would be a good place to share it in the comments here from the county's perspective. And with that, I will say I just want to really thank everyone for their tremendous outpouring of support for their neighbors and for everyone who is an essential worker who's going out there and picking up our trash and recycling every day. It's a tremendous undertaking to be doing that under these circumstances, and our staff in every department has just stepped up in such an incredible way to keep our services going during this time, and not least of which is our maintenance staff, who is creating a safe environment, as safe as possible in these circumstances. And also you may have seen there was a really nice news story that came out a couple of weeks ago about the sanitation system that OVAC has, and they have provided their sanitary system implementation for agencies all over the area, and it's really tremendous how so many people professionals have just stepped up and figured, what can I do? And then it's also really impressive that all of us, every neighbor, every mom, every dad, every person in our community that can think of a way that they can help, whether it's donating their time or reaching out to a community member, is doing that, and in the best way that they know how. So I encourage you, if you have any questions that you want me to address during these updates, you can email me at any time at Gearity@villageofossining.org. If you send me a Facebook message, sometimes I don't get that as quickly. I don't check my Facebook messages, although I do try to be more aware of it. I don't get the same, it doesn't have the same kind of presence in my phone usage as emails, and also emails are foiled by FOIL if at all possible. So I look forward to connecting with you again soon. I do know tomorrow, Tuesday, is my family's day to go on a little bit of a lengthier hike in the middle of the day, so I may be coming to you at a later hour than usual, but I look forward to connecting with you soon. And if you have something that you want me to help highlight in some way, you want the community to know about a program that's going on that maybe we don't know about, that's something that can always be sent to the Village Web Blast and included in the weekly Web Blast, or you can reach out to me, and if it's something that I can mention in these daily updates, I will. And Mary, you just asked cuántos casos hay en Ossining hoy. Hoy hay 283. Make sure my number's right. 283 cases confirmed positive today in Ossining. And we know that number is going to keep going up. Earlier this week, it sounded like the governor was cautiously optimistic that maybe our numbers were plateauing. Let's hope so. We all want to get to that apex because we want to slide down that mountain and get back out to connecting with each other in person. Thanks so much for everybody for tuning in, and I look forward to connecting with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.